This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Mr. Hamilton, Merry ho ho, my friend.
It's getting there, isn't it? Like, what are we, a week out? Not even? Holy crap. Where did the time go?
Home stretch, and episode 55 of Talk is Sheep. Thank you to all our fine listeners. We should do a giveaway. We always sort of noodle around some thoughts in what we're going to do, and we didn't talk about this, but it's Christmas. We should let's do a Christmas giveaway.
Autograph pictures or what?
No, we got to give something of value. Come on.
Oh, 2 autograph pictures.
Yeah. So what are we going to do? Let's create something here.
Oh, good Lord. Well, what's our budget? That's always a good thing to discuss, right?
So $100 in merchandise to Wild Sheep Society BC's page. We got a whole bunch of new merchandise thanks to our merchandise manager. We got some cool water bottles. We got some new hats in. So some really cool stuff. We give $100 away. And
new shirts too.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we doing? What do you have to do to win?
What does Jana? What does Jana say? What's something about her hunt? Oh, what does she think she spots on the mountain through her field glasses?
All right, fair enough.
Right?
Are you and I disqualified from this competition?
No, we never get to win. We never get to win. So text me what you think it is. So yeah, what does Jana? Jana gets into it. She's talking about her sheep hunt. What does she think she spots on the mountain, and what in fact is it? Tell us what it is.
Okay.
Email it to communications@wildsheepsociety.com
for $100 swags package.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so episode 55, Jana Waller. Jana is the co-producer and host of Skullbound Chronicles. They're shown on Carbon TV. It's a completely free platform. Get over there, check it out. And Jana is a blast to listen to. We get into some really, really cool discussions on this Talk is Sheep. She was voted the fan favorite in 2020 on Carbon TV. Award-winning producer, and she just does a fantastic job. A lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, it was great episode. She was just light and bubbly and sparkly, and comes across great in the episode. A lot of fun to listen to her stories and get to know her a little bit.
So for our listeners, just a quick reminder that we do have our membership drive currently on. Check it out. There's some really cool prizes to win. The Stone Glacier backpack, courtesy of our conservation partner, Stone Glacier. We've got Canis gear. We've got some WSSBC swag. So if you're going to buy a membership, now's the time to do it. You can upgrade. So that's going to run till the end of the month, and then your time is up. So get on now and wildsheepsociety.com and get your membership updated, renewed, whatever you need to do there. So episode 55, Jana Waller. But that said, it is Christmas. We want to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Our next episode will likely be after the Christmas break here. But we got a lot of great guests coming up for Talk is Sheep in 22. We're really excited about the year ahead. Mm-hmm. And we just want to thank all of you for the support. This started out pretty small potatoes, just no vision, really just talk about conservation, a little bit of sheep hunting, some sheep hunting tips. And now, we're really enjoying the guests we're having on and really having a great time. Don't really know where it's headed. We have no vision of being a Rogan or a Ranella, but we just wanted to share some of the stories out there. And when you get a guest like Jana on here, it's pretty easy to tell a pretty cool story and have a pretty cool conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're coming up to the sheep show pretty quickly. We're going to hopefully record a couple of podcasts down there with some guests we've got lined up that are going to shock some people that like, holy crap, these two guys from BC managed to line up these guests. So yeah,
you just jinxed this, buddy.
I did.
Kiss of death.
So make sure you hit that follow, subscribe button wherever you podcast, and yeah, the more you do that, the better our reach becomes, and yeah, and you never miss an episode.
Awesome. So episode 55, Jana Waller from Carbon TV and the Skullbound Chronicles. Enjoy, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
If we told you tomorrow that elk, black bear, and bighorn sheep were next, would you speak up? Wildlife needs to be managed by science and not by emotion. And you don't have to be a hunter to take part in this movement. You just have to want sound management of our wildlife in BC. Go to wildsheepsociety.com/act now to use your voice and demand that BC not use our wildlife as pawns in a game of social management. Act now. Or the things that you love could be next.
Good afternoon, Jana. Welcome to Talk is Sheep. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I'm still literally walking on cloud nine. So it's perfect timing to do this podcast because I'm still amped up.
I am really glad too, because there's nothing better than somebody coming off the mountain with a sheep and getting to tell that story right away. And you tell the story a year from now and it's way different because you remember all the other stuff, but right now it's just sheer emotion, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. In fact, my editor and my cameraman, Heath, is coming over tomorrow. This episode won't even air for another year and a month. It's actually going to be the debut episode of January 2023. And we both said we have got to record the spine interview, which drives the show now, while this is all so fresh. And so you can remember the details, that you feel the emotion still. And so tomorrow we're going to be doing that. So I agree with you 100%. It's got to be told right away.
Well, that's awesome. So let's start off with a huge congratulations. What a beautiful ram. What a beautiful story. This is your first sheep, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've always joked I'm hashtag too cheap for sheep. Like,
and how long have you been applying for? Like you've gone through the application process and like this is.
Yeah, I've lived in Montana. I think it's 12 years now. And there may have been 1 year I missed, but I'm thinking I had 10 or 11 points. I get that question so much. I need to just go look it up on my ALS. But yeah, I think I had 10 or 11. It's funny. You know how it is on social media. Guys are like, oh, must be nice and da-da-da, all that. And I just today ran across a young gal who drew, I thought it was Idaho goat, her very first year. And I'm like, good for you. She's 18, looked like 17, 18 years old, trudging up that mountain. And I'm like, it happens. It's all, you got to be in it to win it. I never, ever thought, I have literally only ever drawn one other great tag in my life. And that was my Alaska moose tag. And other than that, I've never drawn a great deer tag. I've never drawn a great elk tag. So this was, and it's funny because my business partner, Heath, was with me. He's my bear baiting partner. We bait just over the border in Idaho. We were going baiting and he said, hey, I'm going to run into the gas station and get some food. Hey, check your stats. And I went on Montana FWP and he comes out of the bathroom like, hey, I was screaming so loud. I said, you got to come look at this and verify it. Am I looking at this right? Like I just was freaking out. And it was so fun that he was with me in the moment that I looked at my phone and saw that. And then he was with me every day, but 2 days of the 17 days of the hunt. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is, well, so there you go. 17 days, right? Like that just goes to show you sheep is never a gimme, right? And so 12 years of applying, 11, 12 years, whatever the number is, 17 days of hunting and endless days of spotting and effort and it culminates in a successful hunt. So congratulations. I can't wait to hear all about it. So can we talk a little bit about you growing up and where your passion came from? Because we'll save the sheep hunt kind of for the last, the big finale. So let's hear all about you. I know you grew up in a hunting family. Your dad was a hunter. Let's hear all about where your passion comes from, when you start hunting, all that, those early days for us.
Well, if people can, I'm sure you guys get this a lot of, where are you from? Because my all about is pretty close to yours, because I'm from Wisconsin. And so everybody always laughs when I say, they say, where do you live? And I'm like, I live in Montana. And they kind of pause for a second. They go, you're not from Montana, are you? And I'm not. I'm from Wisconsin, very proud. Born and lived there for 38 years of my life. My dad, I'm the second daughter of two girls. And I think in, a lot of families, the second one, the guy's praying for a little boy, and the joke of the family is he just sort of turned me into one. But I really do believe that he saw in me this innate love of nature and this passion for the outdoors. Whereas my sister, completely opposite. She's very cerebral, very smart. She would always be in her room reading books, and she's kind of an introvert. And the joke of the family is she only goes outside to get to her car. Like, we're completely opposite. And part of that, I think, is the way I was raised. And part of it is just because of who we are as people. We're just individually different. But he saw a love of nature in me. I was always outside trying to catch frogs and begging him to take me bird hunting. And he started to take me pheasant hunting and duck hunting when I was in grade school, when I was old enough to, maybe battle a little bit of bad weather or walk the fields without complaining all too much. And we would road trip it to South Dakota in my junior high days to pheasant hunt. But I didn't get into big game hunting until kind of the end of my high school. I had a high school boyfriend who just bought a bow, and he was really into sitting in the woods. And I would sit in the trees with him and absolutely loved just watching the deer. But I didn't pick up a bow until I was a freshman in college. And I'd met a girl, a friend of my roommates, who had just stuck a nice buck. And I said to her, oh, that's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Like, I can't even pull my boyfriend's bow back. And she was like, well, you got to get a bow that fits ya, and that was kind of an aha moment for me of like, if she could do it, I could do it, and no one had ever walked me through the fact of tuning up your bow and lowering the poundage and training your arm and, getting everything right. Your arrow weight, your broadheads, your draw length, everything right. And so I bought a bow my freshman year in college, started hunting, got a doe that first year. And, it's been over 3 decades of bow hunting ever since. And then when I moved out west 12 years ago, I got into long range rifle hunting as well. I don't know about you guys, but my farthest shot at a whitetail in Wisconsin is like 150 yards. Like I never even thought of long range rifle hunting until I moved out west. And I trained a bit with Nemo Arms up in Kalispell and just started shooting a lot. And then over the years, got into other things. Handgun hunting is a big thing I've gotten into recently. And but I've just been really blessed for that someone, my dad, gave me the gift of the knowledge of hunting, of what it means, of, enjoying the great outdoors and just, getting back to the basics. I mean, especially in the crazy, crazy world that we live in today. Nothing relaxes me and calms me and centers me more than being outside, being in the mind. And that's what hunting is all about. I mean, people who don't hunt think it's about pulling a trigger. They think it's about ego. They think it's about notching a tag. And maybe it is for some, but nobody I know. It's just about being out there and the challenges. And like, once you kind of conquer some things, maybe in getting into other species or into other weapons like I have. I've hunted with almost every single weapon except traditional archery. And it's just been a passion of mine, especially after moving out west. Most people don't know that before I started Skullbound TV 11, almost 12 years ago, I worked for Edward Jones Investments for 10 years.
Okay, cool.
Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum, And before that, I was in outside sales. I sold radio advertising and, just a lot of sales type positions. And when I moved out west, my ex had the idea of starting the show. There were no solo female hosted shows on the Sportsman's Channel at that time. And there's lots of amazing ones since. Of course, Melissa Bachman comes to mind, and she's so amazing. But at the time, it was just a perfect time to have a solo female hosted show. And it was important to me to do a show that showed that we're animal lovers. Hunters are the greatest animal lovers and conservationists on the planet. And I thought that was missed in hunting shows. And so that was important to me to include. And I ran 9 years on the Sportsman's Channel. And then with just how technology is changing and everybody's changing up how they're getting their adventure programming, I decided to go digital 2 years ago. And so I have right now, 1 year I was both on the network and digital, but now I'm all digital on Carbon TV. It's called Skullbound Chronicles. And it's just hunting stories and adventures. I can tell you this coming January, I'm so excited. I'm launching season 4 of Skullbound Chronicles, and it is a collaboration of my 13 favorite veteran hunts that I've ever done. And they're just incredible stories of men and women. There's only 2 women, but the rest are guys who have just overcome, losing limbs, losing friends. And it's been my gift to sort of gift to myself and them of spending time in the mountains with them and just helping them notch their tags and just getting back to the basics of nature and appreciation. And so I'm so excited to tell all their stories and have an all veteran season next year. And it's free. That's the beautiful thing about being digital. Carbon TV is free. There's no subscription base. There's no nothing. It's free for anybody. It's now in Europe and Asia. And you can watch it anytime, anywhere, as many times as you want. You can share it. It's a really great platform.
Very cool. So let's talk, I guess, about now that we're talking about the show and business. And so for you, you grew up kind of in that hunting space and doing your thing and out there with your dad and these different experiences. But now it's different. Now it's a job, right? So, for you, obviously it doesn't change your passion for the outdoors or for the storytelling and the hunting and that aspect. But is it different for you? Like now you're going out, now you actually are doing a job and you've got, advertisers to be accountable to, people watching the show to make it interesting, that sort of stuff. So has that changed for you, and do you still get the same enjoyment being outside now that you with the business? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I have to say though, I think it's because of where I'm at in my life. Yes, it's my job, but I worked 20 years before this and, in pretty successful other careers. And I don't feel the pressure that some may in the hunting industry, or if let's say they have a show per se. I don't feel the pressure as much as I've got to get it done. I got to notch my tag, because my show's never been about that. I've often showed episodes where I don't notch a tag, and that's reality. That's hunting. And I actually get just as much great feedback about those episodes as any of the other ones. I mean, no one tunes into my show to watch me kill monster muleys. I've gotten some pretty nice public land bucks over the years, but nothing like jaw dropping. And that's just not what it's about for me at all. And I'm not saying that we don't all love to find luck on a beautiful big animal. Of course we do. But I also just this year, I went into the backcountry in Utah with my best friends, Polly and Dee Servey, and I shot the littlest mule deer I've ever shot. And it was the most hard-earned mule deer I ever shot. And that's what we wanted the episode to be about. We decided in the beginning that we were going to shoot any mature buck, as long as it had a big mature body. And we were 5 miles back in, and we camped for 5 days, lived out of backpacks, and it was a totally different style hunt. And I would have been fine. And it was self-filmed, which is not easy when it comes to me. I'm not a camera person, but it was just I thought we captured it beautifully. And to me, it's important to show that it's just a regular old, public land hunt, backcountry tent hunt. And, but I don't feel the pressure, I would say, that a lot of TV shows do, just because, I try to keep it real. I love it. There are times, even on the sheep hunt, that it was exhausting. And it was poor Heath, my cameraman, he was worn out. There were days that we didn't even get the camera out because there was nothing to film. We didn't even see an animal. And the funny thing is, there were other days where we didn't see sheep. It was crazy, and we'll get into that. But along that hunt, we filmed some beautiful bucks. It's a draw buck unit and elk unit. And so we saw a 180 just walking along the side of the road with his girls, with his does. And we filmed another really cool forked 3-point big buck bedded in timber 20 yards off the road. Just didn't even care we were there. Girlfriends all bedded around him, really cool stuff like that. But yeah, it's challenging and it's tough, but back to your question, I don't really feel the pressure maybe that some shows do, because I'm going to film the hunt. I'm going to keep it real. And to me, that's what it's about. I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not or show anything that I'm not. And I think that is honestly the reason for my success.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's so much more appealing as somebody who watches that. I've said to people in the outdoor space the same thing. I'd rather see failures with nothing there where you've taken a shot and missed over sitting in a tree stand and shooting a 180, 190 class buck every single episode, because that's not real. No. Right? It's so much more than the kill. There's the story leading up to it, after the kill. Like the kill's the easiest part of it, right? It really truly is for the show, right? You can edit to make it look great, but when you're showing the real side, that's, for me, as somebody who watches, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's important. And every single hunt is so different than the next, and you just never know what to expect, especially public land hunting. You don't know what you're going to see, if anything. And my show, 1 minute, the episode will be about monster sturgeon fishing in Oregon, and the next will be archery elk, and then the next, Alberta whitetail. Or I just try to, and I don't even. It's funny because everybody's asked me this over the decade plus years of, how do you plan out your hunts? How do you schedule of what's going to make a good show? I don't. I just, what comes at me, I feel like even with friendships and relationships in life, I believe in the natural process of things. I think paths cross for a reason. And I think I've just always felt like a pull towards certain things or not. And if it works for my schedule, great. Or I've never felt the need to put out any episodes that weren't organic and just naturally forming, if you will, depending on what tags I draw, or, hey, buddy invites me like Paulie and Dee to go in the backcountry of Utah, muzzleloader, and then I drew it. And, I don't really plan it out. And I feel like that keeps it natural as well. And I'm just basically a do-it-yourself hunter. I do hunt with outfitters out of state sometimes, but a lot of times I'll give those to the veterans that I hunt with. And, but yeah, I've just been really blessed. And I feel like it's funny. I had a major change in my life 2.5 years ago, broke up with my business partner and founder of the show, and just went my own way, and really wondering of like, could I do this by myself? Because he was my cameraman, editor, and it's just all been such an incredible blessing to like what in my life was a tragedy at that time turned into just an incredible blessing. And, that whole, I can do it, and like all of it, like from like arranging the business of it all to the hunts. And it's just been an amazing ride. Like I just every day am so grateful for this life that I live. It's just been amazing.
That's awesome, Jana. And I want to commend you. You talked about you wanted to show how, hunters love animals, right? In your story, and that be part of your messaging and what you do. And, you started doing that a long time ago, years ago. And now, like if the whack 'em, stack 'em, like, $100 in 100 minutes type thing, it's just gone out of vogue, right? Like it just doesn't and it just doesn't resonate even with our community, right? But 10 years ago, people died for that stuff. It was like, and networks, that's all they could get their hands on. So doing what you did a long time ago was kind of not the norm. It wasn't, the networks were built on this stuff of just killing things, right? So Good on you. And I think that that's a great message. And now it's super, super popular. And I'm sure that hasn't helped or hasn't hurt you in terms of your show, right? Having done this for so long. So very cool. And I commend you on that the story that you tell. It's very tasteful.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm really blessed. I have incredible partners most of them been with me since the very beginning, even when they hadn't even seen a show yet. And I'm just really blessed to have great partners and, really good people by my side to, Heath, my cameraman editor, JR, another cameraman that I've shot with. And I've just got great people by my side, to help me along the way. And I think it's who you surround yourself with in life that really makes it fun.
Oh, congratulations to you and your team, because you guys do a fantastic job. So let's talk about this year. So I've kind of been watching keeping up with what's going on. But so spring bear, turkey, sheep. We're going to talk sheep later, but let's go back. I guess maybe this winter. Where did things start for you? Let's do a chronology of the last 12 months. I guess
you're asking a lot of me, just to let you know.
I know. This is hard work.
My brain is so fried lately. So my year, I still do some hunting in the winter because I live out west. We can wolf hunt, we can mountain lion hunt. I'm trying to think, was it last year or the year before that I shot my mountain lion with a pistol? That was two winters ago. I can't even keep things straight. I'm literally gone way more than I am home. And then when I'm home, I'm scrambling to get home stuff done and office stuff done and now commissioner stuff done. And it's all kind of a big blur. But my season, I feel like, really kicks off after the shows, when we're talking SHOT Show, Sheep Show, like all those, Western Hunt Expo. I start gearing up in March and I start thinking about spring bear because I run my own baits with Heath in Idaho. And then Montana Spot and Stalk is a huge season here in the spring. And so I'm really concentrating on bear. And then this past spring, I drew, when I say I've only ever drawn one other cool tag, I did draw two cool tags. Utah bear tag that I drew this year. They only have a couple of non-resident tags for that. So I was super lucky. And I had never, in all my bears, which I think there's 14 of them, I had never hunted with hounds. I've hound hunted for mountain lion, but never for bears. And so I went with TJ Pace in Utah, who's an amazing houndsman. His dogs are incredible. And that's one of my favorite episodes that I've ever filmed because I think I tell the story of the houndsman well. And it's a lot of work. People have no idea how hard it is. And they think, oh, you use dogs, you put them up a tree, where's the challenge? And just go watch the episode because it's a challenge because your dogs are taking off and they're going 2 mountains over and you're watching them on the GPS. You're like, oh, there's no roads. And, you're traced. And we dumped off and chased the dogs numerous times. And then they come circling back because the track got old or they lost it in the water or, it's a lot more work, much less. I think TJ does a really good job of explaining life as a houndsman. It's 24/7 and you can't get away from it. You're constantly taking care of those dogs to have them where you need to have them for these short seasons. But so I was really blessed with a beautiful Utah bear who has a great story behind him. We get up to the tree and this bear is literally like 90 feet up in the tree. TJ's like, I've never seen a bear climb that high. He was like swaying on the top of this monster pine. And I was hunting with my handgun, my Desert Eagle 429 handgun too. And I'm looking straight up, like we couldn't even, we could see his head peeking out, but then, there's just too many trees, over his body. So we were there at the tree for hour and a half, just waiting for the bear to shift and give me a window. And he did. The shot was perfect. He was dead before he hit the ground. It was such a blessing to have a quick kill. And but when we were looking at him up in the tree, we noticed he had little jewelry. He had a ear tag. And it turns out that 2 years before that, this bear was walking in downtown Orem, Utah. And he went up.
Wow.
They treat him in downtown Orem. And then they dumped him up in the mountains. And 2 years later, I came across him. So it's kind of funny to have a bear that's got a little history like that. So
that's very cool. Can you talk about the handgun experience? That's super. So in Canada, as you probably know, they don't even, if you're got a handgun, you're pretty much a criminal right off the get-go. So for us, the concept of hunting with a handgun is, I'm very envious. I'd love to experience that. So tell us about how you got into that and that experience a little bit, and maybe what's involved with that. I don't want to take away from your hunt, but I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Oh no, it's no big deal. I met Jody DePorter, who is the marketing manager of Magnum Research at SHOT Show one year, and just got to talking. And a mutual friend introduced me to the Desert Eagle, the brand new 429. And I had hunted with a handgun just one other time in Texas for hogs before that. And I thought, how cool. Now, mind you, I never grew up with handguns. I never even got a handgun until I moved to Montana. And really, it was basically for the four-legged predators when I'm out hunting, because here we have, mountain lion, wolves, coyotes, mountain lion, wolves, coyotes, grizzly. Oh, tons of grizzlies where I hunt elk. So, you definitely want to be packing. And I typically have bear spray on the right hip and a pistol on the left. And then I just, after a couple of years, wanted to try to start hunting with a pistol. So I went down to Texas and got a hog, and then met Jody, started hunting with the 429. And since then I've taken mountain lion, bear, a turkey in Texas, which is, believe it or not, I'm really proud of the turkey. Hog, javelina, and I'm missing something. Mountain lion, bear, turkey, javelina, hog. There's something else I'll think about. But I do definitely want to hunt elk and deer with it as well. So
right, cool. So what kind of range are you looking at? Like what's a safe range where you'd be comfortable shooting something?
Yeah, I feel personally comfortable out to 50 yards.
Cool.
Yeah, everybody's different. I know that gun can shoot a lot farther. But with me and the excitement and, just the stability, and it's an animal that's not a target. That's not a steel plate that I'm having fun plinking at. It's an animal. And the last thing I want to do is wound an animal. And so I feel really good out to 50 yards. I hunted with it. I've taken 2 bears with it, 2 or 3, on my baits in Idaho. And those are typically 25, 30 yards. So it's the perfect weapon for that. But I really want to try to maybe spot and stalk deer and elk with it as well.
Very cool. So you've hunted with a whole range of weapons. What kind of, like, you're currently doing that now with predators and bears, but is there something that stands out? Is there a favorite medium that you like to use for a weapon, or you just like to try different things?
Not really. I love it all. I'm heading out to Iowa in 2 days. I have a muzzleloader hunt. I've only been muzzleloader hunting about 5 years. I was really intimidated at first. I just thought it was, old school ripping off and pouring the powder in and too much that could go wrong. And really it's not. I'm super excited. I'm trying a brand new muzzleloader by J.R. Schultz, or Schultz Precision. That's just a killer muzzleloader. And every state's muzzleloader rules are so different. Montana, we just opened up a muzzleloader season, but it's very primitive muzzleloader hunting. And I've done that as well in Colorado, where it's, no scope, open sights muzzleloader hunting. But Iowa and Utah, for example, those muzzleloaders can, really reach out there. And it's just a way to extend your hunting season too. Like in Wisconsin, where I'm from, once the rifle season's over, then there's a muzzleloader, I think, week or 10 days. So it's just a way to extend your season. It's not my favorite per se, but I don't know. I really like it all. I love spot and stalk rifle hunting, especially for deer and elk. I love that, and bear. I love handgun hunting. It's something kind of new to me in the last 4 or 5 years. I love archery. I've been actually bow hunting longer than I have anything else. And the funny thing is, this is the very first year I've not bow hunted in 31 years, I think. Yeah. And which is crazy to me. It just didn't fit my schedule. I just, it was just too super busy. I could have hunted with a bow, but I chose my handgun for bear in Idaho. I could have done bow in Alaska, but I took my pistol and shot a really nice black bear with my pistol. So, I just chose handgun this year, but it did feel a little weird not archery hunting for the first time in 3 decades, but I'll get back into it.
Very cool. Okay, so spring bear, and then I know you do some bow fishing. Was that, you do that in the wintertime in the off season, or when does that happen? Is that a springtime thing?
Yeah, you can bow fish anytime. I love to go to Texas. But Texas has just the most premier bow fishing, from monster alligator gar to, Louisiana catfish. I mean, I just love going south for bow fishing. But you can bow fish, I believe, almost all year round. Here in Montana, we have really fun carp bow fishing on Canyon Ferry and Holter Lake. Utah, I got out this year, and did some carp bow fishing right outside Springville. But usually when I'm going down to Texas, I've gone kind of over the late fall, winter months. It all just depends. A lot of it's weather. A lot of it's when the big gator gar are spawning. And so I'll get a call from my buddy Buck Medley. He's like, get down here, they're spawning, kind of thing. But yeah, bow fishing that's another thing. If people haven't been, I've been really blessed to get into it even before I moved out west, because AMS, the company that makes the most awesome setups, they're right there in Wisconsin. And I actually met the owners through a girlfriend of mine who was into bow fishing. And so she's like, come along with us. And we went on their big AMS boat and on a lake just 10 miles from my dad's cabin. So that was my introduction to bow fishing like 15 years ago. And it is so much fun. And it's so easy. Even if you're not into archery, it's, swing and a miss. If you miss, you just reel that arrow back up, knock it on, and keep going, and it's just so much fun. I would highly recommend, if you get the chance to bow fish, to try it, because it's addicting.
So when you hammer a big, say, alligator gar, like you get into them, do they take off? And is it like, how does that work? Like, what's it like? Is it like you have to be careful you don't lose your bow? I don't know. What is it like? Yeah. I don't understand
it's intense. It's intense. There's a couple different ways you can do it, but like sometimes guys put a buoy on the end of their bow. There's a little on the riser, you can just put a buoy or a float. It's often how like you bow fish alligators, same concept. So when you shoot the arrow and it goes into the alligator or the alligator gar, and they run. They take off and they run. It's going to take all that string out of your reel, and then it's attached to the buoy, so the buoy pops off. So you don't have to kind of worry. You can just watch that buoy go and then slowly but surely pick up that line where that buoy is off. And, you don't want to tug real hard depending on how far you're into the fish or the alligator. And then like most alligator hunts, you slowly get them up. They get tired super easily. Gators do. And you bring them up to the boat and then typically you bang stick them.
Okay. Cool.
Really quick. You do not want to bring the gator into the boat until you.
Yeah, that would be a classic failure.
But then with like gator gar, they fight and they're incredible. And you don't want to bring them into the boat till they're completely worn down either, because they just swing their head. They've got teeth that are actually, some of them are on the outside of their mouths. And when they swing that head back and forth, it's just like a sword. It's crazy. But yeah, I've gotten a couple of really nice big alligator gar. One of them with Buck was out of a, flat bottom boat. That's the only thing we could take to get back into this. Really, the floods had created such a jungle across the creek to get back into this river system. So we took this little flat bottom boat, and that's actually, I believe, on one of the Skullbound Chronicles season 1. There's a recap of that hunt. Like, it is more like hunting than fishing. I should call it AMS hunting. But yeah, there's that. I think that's on an episode of season 1, but it's kind of fun to watch right out of the boat and kind of chaotic. But then, yeah, you just get them up to the boat and you hook them. And what people don't understand too is they're delicious eating.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really good eating. If you can get the meat, the fillets on ice right away, they're delicious.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy videos on YouTube of people catching the alligator gar, and they're just prehistoric looking. And watching these guys trying to clean them, it's like they got an armor and they have to use like shears to cut through, like tin snips to cut through them, and it's just nuts.
I have that on my show too. You can watch Bucky, and he's got one of those big like sawzaws.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, their skin. Actually, Native Americans used to use gator gar skin as armor.
Oh.
It is like a half an inch thick. It's just they're just amazing. But you're right, they're prehistoric. They're just beautiful creatures. And you're allowed 1 gator gar per day in Texas. There's a limit. It's not unlimited, which I think is a really good idea.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go fishing for them, do you have to? Is it a guided thing? Like, do you have to be guided, or is there like public lands access? Or
no, yeah,
I know Texas is tough for that, but
yep, you can be out on the river systems or lakes. Yeah, you obviously. I'm not remember if you just have to have a fishing license or what, but yeah, and so some people do fish for them regularly, fishing, right? Put meat on the end of the hook. When you're bow fishing for them, actually, gator gar have to have oxygen. They breathe. So every 20 to 30 minutes, they come up and they roll. And while they roll, or they'll just come up to the surface and kind of go like this and get some air and go down. Usually, it's not that great. Usually, it's like this. And like by the time your brain registers that they just rolled, you do what we call shoot the swirl. If it's big enough, if you caught a glimpse of them or it's big enough, you shoot the swirl and hope that your arrow is gonna, hit the guy, because it is so fast. It is such a fun adventure. You're on the boat. You're constantly looking. You don't even want to take a drink of water, and typically you're in 110 degrees Texas heat, and you're just hunting all day long for these gars to come up. And sometimes they will give you a slow rise and kind of take a couple gulps of water before they go back down. But usually it's a super quick roll. And the last big one I got that's on one of those episodes might have been last year. I might have 2 episodes on there. I can't even remember. But yeah, we fought that fish for probably a good hour and a half.
Huh, very cool. And who do you both fish with down there? You just said the name.
Crazy Buck Medley. If you don't know who Buck Medley is, he used to have a show on Animal Planet called The Texas Tarzan. He looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter. He's got big, long blonde hair and a big black beard, and he's just a hoot. He is. I met him through mutual friends at one of the shows, and he is crazy, but in a really good way. He is one of the sweetest people I've ever met, but he's wild. So he's got his snake on and his black shirt and black jeans, and he lives in Texas, and he literally is catching rattlesnakes with his hands. And when he had his TV show on Animal Planet, it was just all about, crazy nature, things like that. But he's just a diehard hunter, big archer, and in Texas, Texas is like an African safari. It's the closest thing we have in this country to Africa, where you have just things that want to bite you, sting you, kill you, eat you. And it's just a wicked environment, but so much fun. And typically when I'm down there, I'm hunting whitetails, and then I can also fish for gar, and I can sometimes turkey hunt at the same time, and hog hunt and javelina, and go catch tarantulas with buck, or just it's a jungle in Texas, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, I just did a quick Google of him. I recognize him, and yeah, you nailed it when you say Dog the Bounty Hunter with a bow. Yeah, that's him.
Yep.
Cool. So bow fishing, and you had 2 bear hunts. And when was your Alaska bear hunt? When was that last fall or this?
No, they were both this spring. So they were, I think, it was Alaska after Utah. I can't, like I said, my whole calendar's discombobbled in my head. But yeah, we went to Alaska with Joe Latart. Joe is a great guy. He's a legend in Alaska. He's been guiding there, I think, for over 40 years. But he has just the most unique, beautiful place that he has a bear camp out in the Yukon Flats Refuge. And it's almost like Canada. Like I've gone up into Canada a lot fishing with my dad, where you take the float plane in and you're flying over the tundra, and it's just flat tundra. And you look down and like no one has ever walked here. That kind of feeling, like so primitive and raw, real nature. And so you climb up over the mountains. Yeah, as you leave Fairbanks, in the float plane, you climb up over the mountains, and then you just fly over this Yukon Flats Refuge, and it's a beauty in a different way, but and just pockets of lakes everywhere, and it is overrun with bears. And so John and I went this year. He had a grizzly tag and I had a black bear tag, and it's a baited hunt out there. And that's a lot of work too. Like I said, people think baited hunts are easy. Try baiting them from boats, because all the stands you have to get to by boat. You're literally camping on a little peninsula. And then every day taking the boat out to refresh baits, you're fishing all afternoon, and you're sitting from 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and you can sit as long as you want. It never gets dark. It literally never gets dark. And it's so crazy. The first night we were there, we were going to bed at 2 a.m. and birds are chirping and the sun's out. It just feels so, it takes a while for your internal clock to get you realizing that, yes, you need to go to bed, but that was just a fantastic hunt. We never did our week. We never saw grizzlies. The week before us, 2 guys got grizzlies. The week after us, a dad and a son who were black bear hunting had to shoot in the air to scare off a grizzly. But when we were there, we didn't see a grizzly for John, but I did end up getting a really nice black bear the first night I was there, and took him with my pistol. It was super fun trip. Cool.
So did John have a draw, or was it he being guided up there?
He was being guided by Joe. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I'm having Alaska Wilderness Enterprises, I believe, but Joe Latart. But yeah, he guides up there nonstop. He's been up there forever. And that was a hunt that I would love to do again. Both grizzly and black bear. It was just so different. I've been bear hunting, for the last 12 years. I've taken bears all over Montana, Idaho, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and that Alaska before that too. But that style hunt where you're in that kind of terrain, the refuge, and you're living in pup tents and taking the boat out to the stands every day was just super cool.
Yeah, very cool. You're going to have to go up there next year with the Grizz tag and show John how it's done, right?
Right, exactly. I like the way you
think. All kidding aside, offline here, you got to talk to Steve. Steve's got to get you up to BC and do a BC bear hunt. We'd love to have you up here for black bears.
I've never hunted bears in BC. That would be so fantastic.
Well, then.
Yeah, it'd be a great time. Steve can hook you up for sure. So we'll chat about that later. So turkeys, did you do spring turkey as well, or what was the plan around turkeys?
Yep, we did. I do an annual, we call it the Wall Tent Turkey Camp with my buddy Jason Matzinger and Willie Schmidt and the Onyx guys. And what was that this? Yeah, that was this year, right? I can't even keep my stuff straight. Yeah, I think that was this year. Yeah, it was. Last year we didn't because of COVID, but we did it this year. And it's turkey hunting, which a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's fun, but it is the most fun turkey hunting I've ever had and I've turkey hunted across the country. It is spot and stalk, mostly spot and stalk, run and gun in the Missouri River breaks. So you cover you're covering ground up and down the mountains. It's easy doing 10, 15 miles in a day. It is so much fun. And the funny part of it is we all camp out. We all put up the wall tents and camp out. And half the time we're not successful. This year, I think we actually had 4 birds down in camp. And I think that was record. because it's challenging. It's really, turkeys don't act like normal turkeys out there. Rarely does it happen where you set out a decoy in the morning and you call and they come down to your decoy and boom. It rarely happens like that for any of us, but we've been doing it now for, I think, 8 or 9 years, and it's just so much fun. And I had luck this year with my single shot 12 gauge and went running and gunning one day with Willie and his wife, Sherry. And I saw this bird, and he's got some hens with him, and he's, running through the hills, and you just kind of hope to get, while they top over a hill, you're running up to the next one. And they kind of hung on the back of this hillside. I said, Willie, do you mind if I run and kill him? And he's like, go for it. And I'm just going between the trees, and I can hear them, and I know that they're within like 30 yards. And I just see a little hen head go like this over the ridge. And then I take a couple steps because I know he's right behind her. And sure enough, there was the tom, and boom. And so much fun. I didn't film it, but it was really fun.
Very cool. So now with some of the stuff I seen, like do you do much foraging? Like I seen you had some morels in some of your stuff, but do you do much of that, or was that just some bycatch when you're out in the field?
Yeah, that was probably bycatch this year, just because we were finding them around our bear baits, which was kind of bonus. But I'm a scrounger at heart. I don't care if it's morels or like shark's teeth in Florida. I go every single year down to my dad's and I scrounge the beaches and find bowls and bowls of shark's teeth. But from morels to huckleberries and my roommate here is Laura Zara, queen of foraging. I mean, Laura is a primitive survivalist. Laura, she's been on Naked and Afraid 5 times, completed it all 5 times. She's just hardcore. She knows the mountains. She knows what plants are medicinal, what berries you can eat. And so she's so much fun to go out into the mountains with and, collect mushrooms and berries and she's also into using every single part of the animal. So my ram that I just got, we literally, when I say everything, I mean everything. From saving the hooves are in my freezer. We're not sure what I'm going to do with the hooves, but they're too cool. Like we'll find something. But we did all the meat, and then we have all the scrap meat for the dog. She makes her own dog food. We kept the fat for rendering into something, because how often do you get to use bighorn fat? And she kept the sinew, and I even kept the for like the world's coolest change purse. So
I've seen your handbag there. It's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
And it's big. I'm like, oh my goodness. I felt a little intimidated by it.
Every ounce of this ram is being honored. I'm telling you that.
That's so cool. That was such a cool handbag or change purse, I think you called it. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that's sweet.
I'm going to bring it probably won't be ready for this sheep show, but next sheep show.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's I'd love to have Laura on the show at some point too, to talk about the stuff that she's up to and gets into. So I guess on that note, using all the material, let's talk about your beadwork and the work you do there. Let's segue there. Like, how you got involved in that and talk about some of your, I guess maybe your favorite piece would be kind of cool. There's so many pieces that you've done that are amazing, but.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. So that was back in my Edward Jones days. My dad, okay, this is how old this story is. He brought me a Polaroid. It was probably about 20 years ago now. He brought me a Polaroid of a picture that he took, one of those little cheapy Polaroids. He was in New Mexico, and he was in an antique shop, and he saw a painted ram skull, and it was painted sort of Native American dot design. It was beautiful. And he goes, why don't you, and my dad and I have always painted just for fun. We took art classes together one time at the senior center, and but he's always been a hobby artist, and so have I. And so he's like, you should start painting some of your skulls. And I had skulls from my hunts, but also from scrounging. I'm a huge shed hunter. And so when I'd go out in Wisconsin, my dad's cabin has 2 major highways that surround 2 of the borders of his cabin. So we would always find roadkill. And so he's like, you should start painting some of your skulls, which I did. And I actually started out sort of in that dot design. And then over the years, it just led to, I have to give Kevin Poulsen credit here. Kevin Poulsen, a friend of mine on Facebook, he sent me some pictures of beaded skulls that he saw. And these were just beautiful. And we're talking like art gallery in Park City, Utah, beautiful, $10,000 beautiful. but it just gave me the idea to kind of start stoning them. I think it's almost more appropriate to say I stone skulls than bead them, because I don't do any of the sewing of the beading like often Native American traditional beadwork is done. I do a lot of the gluing of stones, from arrowheads and raw stone to blinged out Swarovski crystals to, I have one right there on my mantle that's all wooden beaded with arrowheads. And so that just started even before I moved out west. And I started a website, Painted Skulls or Beaded Skulls, I own both of them, .com. And I would do it for customers. Actually, they'd send me their skulls. I'd send them back. We'd talk about design. And the funny thing is that we incorporated a lot of that into the show in the beginning, but I really don't incorporate that much anymore just because I don't have much time to do them. Mm-hmm. I think this year I've done only 4 or 5 projects just because I've been so incredibly busy. One of the coolest projects I did, though, was this year. A good client of mine who has sent me 5 or 6 skulls now from Texas. He owns a whitetail breeding facility, and he often finds them when they fight and they've been killed. And he had these 2 bucks locked up, and they're, just insane whitetails, 200-inch whitetails locked up. And so I beaded both like the yin and the yang. One is bright white colored and the other one's dark. And that was a really fun project. I've done a lot of them for the Western Hunt Expo. That's been really fun because I've been given these amazing replicas that look just beautiful and real from Split Image Replicas. He does a lot of work for guys who maybe they've killed a 230-inch muley and they want one in their office and one in their home and one, and so he does replicas, and he's been kind enough to donate a replica to me the last 4 or 5 years, and I've beaded them up, and we've raised some great money for conservation through those skulls. So those are always super fun.
I was going to say, like, you do a ton of conservation work with this. And I think the RMEF and is that correct? And a few other organizations, a ton of support. And then, do you do any of the veteran support work with that as well, or is that?
Yep, I've done a couple skulls for veteran groups. Marcus Luttrell's Foundation, Wishes for Warriors. That's the group I work a lot with that I love so much. But yeah, there's the veteran organizations are so near and dear to my heart that it's easy to do skulls for them. I just wish I had more time. I didn't take any new projects this year. I just tried to get the ones that had been sitting on my desk forever out because I'm so just stupid busy. I'm never home. And now with the new commissioner position, I don't see how that's happening in the next couple of years. Maybe 4, 5, 6 projects a year, but
cool. So which one stands out the most? Is it the 2 whitetail ones? I've seen that. That's absolutely stunning. Those lock bucks are amazing. Is there one that stands out? And they're all so diverse, right? There's the painted ones, the stoned ones. They're so cool. So anything that in particular that resonates with you the most? Or
I did. Yeah. Henry, the same one who I did the whitetail skulls for, probably just jumped into my brain, but I did a 14-foot, look, I can't even fit my hands on the screen, 14-foot alligator skull in all Swarovski crystals. And I just, honestly, I don't ever have a pattern. I just go and I just work on it, and whatever I feel like doing, I do. I love how that one turned out. And it was just amazing looking at it. I think it had over like 5,000, and they were really little Swarovski crystals in this thing. It took me over a month working on it almost every day. Like, I would, you can't work on it too long. I'm going to get too old. You down there like this, you can't work on it too long before your back starts to hurt. But that 14-foot gator skull, there's a picture of it on my Instagram that I reposted not too long ago. I did that about 3 years ago, but that one is so cool. They're all so neat because they have emotions in them, like things carry energy and emotions, in my opinion. And like when someone entrusts me with a skull from their hunt, that's a big deal. And so, I usually go over things with them, but, some of the projects have a lot of emotion involved. And I do need to get back into it when my life slows down here a little bit, because it's so much fun. And like the excitement of hearing the hunt and incorporating it somehow back, into the skull. And they're fun. They're unique. I've done everything from buffalo, longhorn, elk, deer, bear. I'm trying to think if there's any really super crazy skull I've ever done. I did a duck skull, a couple of duck skulls. They're like this big. They're easy.
Cool. Have you used any of the shark's teeth for any of those at all?
I'm going to. I get that question so many times because I always post my shark tooth hunting, adventures, and I'm going to. It just is going to be a lot of work because how I see it in my mind is doing it on a really cool whitetail skull or something where you go from big to little. So it would be and I would love to do it with ones I have found. So it would just be, and I have bowls and bowls of them, but it would just be like finding the time to do it, separating them out by a size, and then creating a really cool pattern. But I'm going to sometime. A lot of people ask me that.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so let's segue over now to talk about, I believe it's the Region 2 Commissioner position you've taken on with Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks. Is that correct? And tell us about that. What's involved with that? And how did that come about? Other than the fact that you're worldly famous, but aside from that, your conservation ethic and stuff. No, and I mean that seriously. But obviously, you're more than a pretty face in terms of your conservation ethic and your hard work there. So talk about the commissioner role and what you're doing with that for us.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm so new into it. I don't even know yet, really. I mean, I get the basics. So I was at the end of the summer, I was asked by a couple of people. I asked me if I knew that the seat was open, and I didn't. And I honestly, before that, never even knew how the commission worked. And so the 2 seats became open. There is now a commissioner for every region in Montana, and they needed a commissioner for Region 2. And so after talking to a bunch of different people from conservation groups to just locals here to some of the other hunting-based organizations, I thought, I'll throw my name in the hat. I didn't know what the chances would be of me getting it or not, but I've always kind of, in my life, I've taken a lot of gambles, whether it's from different TV shows that I've done or, positions or emceeing events that I was really nervous to do and didn't want to do. I've always sort of jumped in and said, let's go for it. And so I did. And I got a call from the governor and sort of had an interview and was awarded the commissioner position. So that was late summer. And I did tell the rest of the commission and the governor that I'm gone all fall. Like I'm crazy super busy. So what are the dates of our meetings and how often do we meet? And so long story short, I haven't even been to my first meeting yet. That will be December 13th and 14th in Helena. But really what the commissioner position is it's, I represent Region 2 of Montana. There's 7 regions, and I help make decisions on season setting, dates, tags. For example, just last week, it appeared that there were a bunch of units in Region 2 where we have not harvested as many elk as needed. We're way above objective. Fish and Game is there to, have sustainable numbers, but they have numbers that they need to meet as well. And it's hard to make everybody happy. You've got hunters, you've got outfitters, you've got ranchers, you've got, farmers, you've got all these different people that we need to make happy. And wildlife management is a big piece of the puzzle. And so I just had to extend the cow B or elk B cow tags in a bunch of our units in Region 2 because those numbers haven't been filled. So that kind of thing. A lot of issues like right now we have wolf trapping that has just been sort of the regulations are changing a little about that, as well as wolf hunting at night with thermals. We just got hound hunting for bears in Montana, which is an incredible win for hunters. So there's like topics like that, and everything goes through a review process. It goes through public input process, and then we, the 7 commissioners, vote on the topics. So I'm diving into this with both feet, 2 ears open, 1 mouth shut, and hopefully learn a lot. It's an incredible amount of work that I'm learning. I get inundated with emails every day, and it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of discussions. I've already had 4 phone calls today from people concerned about certain topics and issues. And I just want the people in Region 2 to feel heard and listened to. I, of course, represent the average hunter. I want to save Montana's hunting heritage. It's getting stripped away in a lot of other states. Look what's happened in Washington, because they did not fill a commissioner's seat. They had a vote go to a tie, and they just lost their spring bear season. So I don't want things like that to happen in Montana. And hopefully it'll be a fun run. If not, my term is a weird term because it was a different kind of seat for Region 2, that my term is only 14-month term, and then up for re-election, or not re-election, up for nod, if you will, for 4 more years after that. So I figure if the year 2022 is just way overwhelming, I can always say I'm done with my term after 14 months.
It's actually kind of the sweet spot, right? You're not overcommitted. You just kind of got that window. If it works, great, perfect. Yep. Up for another 4. If not, then so be it. So,
yep, exactly.
Yeah,
I
cool.
feel that.
Well, that's great. Well, once you kind of get waded into the issues, love to have you back, and love to hear about what's going on in Montana with some of the wildlife issues and some of the things on the radar. It's always fun to learn these other jurisdictions and learn about what's going on, right? So
yeah, I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to come back on. Yep.
Cool. I'm sure this is much like. Sorry, what's that?
Let me learn a little bit first.
I'm sure your new role is pretty much like Casey's role in Yellowstone, right? You just get to go out.
Yeah, exactly. Geez, I hope I'll be looking over both shoulders.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so let's shift over now. You got to talk about this because you're probably the luckiest person I know when it comes to finding random stuff on the side of the road. Sheds in Texas, bighorns in Montana. I love John's post the other day. It's like, 100 times you've yelled, "Stop the truck!" and he stopped the truck and he's rolling his eyes. And then all of a sudden you get this massive bighorn found dead. So let's talk about some of your cool finds on the side of the road, or just in general. I know you mentioned you're a forager and a finder. So let's talk about, you got to talk about the bighorn for sure. Yeah.
So this was just a couple weeks ago. It's funny because John was kind enough. He flew up for 3.5 days of hunting in October. And that's when we saw 41 sheep. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Come November, 38 ewes. They were 38 ewes, 2 young rams and 1 lamb. So I'm like, look at all these ewes. This is slam dunk. This is so awesome. And that was in October. Well, then I had other hunts. I had Utah. I had Wyoming elk hunt, veteran elk hunt, and then back to Utah and then back here. So then John came up for mid-November, which is supposed to when it starts to get good, another 3.5, 4 days. We didn't see a sheep. We did not see. It was like the spaceship came down and took everybody away. We always joke about that, but it was true. It was like, where in the world? And we hiked our butts off a lot of those days. Just, covered. In the mornings, we would start out high on the peak and just glass. But then we'd dive into the canyons and there wasn't snow, so we really couldn't track. But yeah, they were gone. But on one of those days, we were driving along. I can just say it now because I'm never going to hunt it again. It was Unit 250, Painted Rocks Lake area. And I have no problem giving all the intel because I'm not ever going to hunt it again. But so we're driving along the lake. And it's where everyone knows the sheep hang out in November. It's no secret. In fact, oftentimes they're down on the highway. And that was honestly one thing I'm like, please don't let them be down on the highway. Like, I don't want that kind of hunt, And they weren't anywhere to be found. But we're driving along and I'm literally looking. I opened up the moonroof on my truck, and the hill is so steep that I'm just looking up the hill as we're driving, and I'm looking for sheep. But it is true that I asked John, stop. I think I saw an elk shed. Stop. I think I saw a whitetail shed, like 10 times a day at least. And it's never, ever been one yet with John. So in 2 years. But the poor guy now has to stop every time I ever say that. So, but I'm looking and quite honestly, it was so far up there. We're talking 200 yards off the road, but it just didn't look right. It was a ram skull upside down. So what I thought I saw was a moose paddle. And I actually spotted the only set of moose paddles I've ever found were here in Montana, and I glassed them up at 680 yards away because it just didn't look right? A big white ewe. So I said, I think it might be a moose paddle. He's in the back seat with his camera, and John's like, "You want me to back up?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we back up. I get out the spotting scope because I can't even tell with bye-bye. It just looks really weird. It's white and it's thick and it looks like this. So I get the spotter, I look it through the vortex, and I said, I don't want to jinx this, but I think it might be a ram skull. And John's like, and he looks through it and he's like, that's a ram skull. And I said, you think? Like 100%? And he's like, 100%. He was so confident. And I was like, no, 90. And so there, Keith gets out the camera. He films this from the road. And I don't even know what we're going to find. It could be crumbly, old, whatever. And we go hiking up, and it's the kind of hill that's like, 2 steps up and you slide one back, another couple and you slide. It's just steep, rocky. And we get up there, and I get towards it, and I'm just freaking out because it's a ram skull, and it's upside down, and it's in pretty good shape. It's got the, tips of the, nose eaten off a little bit, but it's in pretty good shape. And freaking out. And John goes, I wonder if there's any way the sheaths are around here. So Heath splits left. I split right. John walks straight up the hill. And it wasn't 3 seconds. And he goes, guess what I see? And I'm like, and I ran over there. And while he's heading towards the one, I spot the second. And so there they are, not far from each other, in beautiful condition. They're perfect. And I really believe this was a cat kill. And I know it's hard. Everybody says, how do you know? You don't know. I know it's hard to tell, but like in talking to the sheep biologist, she asked, what were the bones like? What did they look like? And they were all there, even the leg bones. So that makes you kind of come to the conclusion of lion kill. And there's tons of lions in that unit. We ran across lion tracks. Like, you just see them all the time there. Although we ran across wolf track, and I saw a wolf too. So, but it could be anything. But, typically wolves are going to take the legs and run off with them or fight with them. But anyway, beautiful condition. Mid 160s ram skull that I'm actually incorporating it into my mount. I'm going to do a pedestal mount about yay high. On top of that pedestal, we'll lay the ram skull, and then it will have rock habitat with the ram shoulder mount above it. So
that's going to be phenomenal. And isn't that amazing that, you're out on the sheep hunt and then you find this found dead, right? It's amazing that, you did. So at that point, did you go, I'm killing a ram this year for sure? Like, was it
pretty lucky, but I had 4 or 5 days after that with not spotting a ram. So I was like feeling so lucky right away, like this is going to be so, and then I was like, oh, it's day 10, 11, 12 tick on, and you're not finding them anywhere. And it's coming near the end of you've got, what did I have when I tagged out as Thursday, Friday, I had 5 days left on my hunt when I tagged out. So, and mind you, 2 other gentlemen have the tag, and we ran into each other all the time, and they had not seen a sheep in November. So, and one of them, his name is Cletus. Cletus is in his 60s, is in the most remarkable shape. He is a huge shed hunter. He did one day 22.5 miles in the mountains. Yeah. So I knew Cletus was covering ground, and he didn't see a thing either. So it was pretty depressing. It was just getting depressing just because it's like, where in the world, and time is running out. And this is literally a once in a lifetime tag. I mean, it's not like, even with my big moose in Alaska, I knew it would be possible to hunt moose again. And it is possible that I could hunt sheep again, but it might not be likely. So, there was that pressure, not, I've got to notch my tag, but I don't want this to end, but I want it to end with a notch tag. And there's also the fact that Heath has worked his butt off. My cameraman, I have been dragging that poor boy through the mountains like nobody's business, but we've along the way captured some of the most beautiful footage. Like, we have big bucks. We have a beautiful elk bedded down in the snow. He didn't care we were there. The snow's falling on him. We've got a buck trying to cross the creek, and it's frozen, and he ice skates and falls 5 times. It's the funniest video. We've just got the coolest stuff. And then finding the skull live on the fly. So many wonderful things. I just wanted to do an episode and tie it all together with a ram at the end. And so to have it all go down like that, I still I'm teary-eyed about it. It was amazing. I just can't believe that it happened the way it did. And both.
So tell us, let's come on. There's some deets here. I got to hear this. Come on.
Okay, I'll cut it really short. So we've had all this other great footage, amazing time in the mountains. It's just been beautiful. Sorry about that. John Bear, he ought to know better. So we're on day 13 now. And Heath and I decided to go on a death march. And we literally walked down a creek bottom. We cut up to the top of the mountain, walked the skyline out. And there's up at the top of the mountain, there's about, I'd say, 4 or 5 inches of snow. But it's the kind of trekking where it's super steep. Every step you take, you don't know if it's going to be a pointy rock to turn your boot and twist your ankle, or you're going to step on a stick to make you slide. I bet I face planted it at least a dozen times on this hunt. I mean, maybe he caught some of that on camera. I'm not sure. But actually, he probably didn't catch the face plants because he didn't want to hike with his camera out. As much as you want to, you're falling so many times. He was like, I'm going to break my camera. So he had his camera in his back most of the time. But anyway, so we're up day 13. Have not seen a sheep since, had not seen a sheep in November except one small collared ram. He was a teenager. He wasn't even legal. I have a legal ram tag. I have to shoot a 3/4 curl ram or better. The other 2 tag holders can shoot anything. So he wasn't even legal. And so we filmed him one day, the next day, and he had a broken leg. And there was a part of me that felt so guilty. Like, can I stretch him to 3/4 curl? Because he's got a broken leg. There's no way he's going to make it, And then the funny thing is we saw him 3.5 miles away from where we saw him the first day to the second day. This dude can run, like he's fine. And then the biologist I was talking to later on said, it's funny, deer and elk and sheep, if they have a broken leg or a wound and it's on the back, they'll get along fine. They'll survive for years. Front's a lot harder, but if they have a back leg injury, they can live just fine. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So day 13, we're up on the top of the mountain. We're taking off layers. We're sitting down to get something to eat. I'm glassing, and I think I spot 2 sheep. It's like 2 miles away, and they look like white butts to me. And you just pray that they're not mule deer, But I was pretty sure it was 2 sheep. Didn't know what they were. And, Heath is gung-ho. He's like, let's go for it. And so we're, walking miles like this where you go down the skyline, then you're up the skyline, then you're down the skyline, then you're up the skyline. And we get over there and we're on the top of the skyline. We're on the top of the bowl. And I know they were bedded right down there, 400 yards. So we're just being really super quiet, looking around. I take my gun off, take my pack off. He gets his camera out and we're looking down. And all of a sudden Heath goes, over there, ram, ram, ram. And 150 yards away in the timber, we see a ewe pop out and a ram. It's the first shooter ram I have seen. It's day 13. I get down on my gun and they got down and then I got up to, they're gone. We see their butts crest over. So we get up and we run around this bowl and we had to have been where they were standing, not even 2 minutes later, gone. And that's not typical ram behavior. Typically a ram has a ewe with him. He couldn't care less about anything else, right? I think he had the only ram and the only ewe in the unit with him, and he led her right back into the timber. That's what I think happened because we combed the rest of the day. We even walked all the way back to our truck, drove us across to the other mountain to glass this way. Gone. That was definitely a low of the hunt. I was 150 yards, beautiful ram. So disappointed. Day 14, nothing, not a sheep. Day 15, we're driving in. It's just getting light out. We're going to our spot we couldn't even get up to the top to glass because it had snowed a good, 6 to 8 inches that night. And it was too icy to climb to the top, but we were going to get up as far as we could and then hike. And we're pulling into the canyon. I look up and I'm like, ram, ram, ram. And there's a ram like staring over the skyline at Heath and I. So we run over, park the truck, get our gear on and start hiking. And he disappears over the ridge. And by the time we got up this ridge that was like this, it was probably a good 25 minutes, half hour later, he's gone, but we had tracks. So we're staying on him all day long. This is going to be all day long. So we follow the skyline up to the top of the mountain and that ram went down and up this bowl and over the next ridge and down that bowl. And finally we're like, we couldn't even go on. Like I was just exhausted, sweaty. Like I had way too many layers on. So did Heath. I face planted it so many times because of that snow and not knowing the ground. Every step you take, your muscles are kind of on high alert, ready to fall or slip. And half the time you're stepping on a twig and sliding down. And it was just exhausting. And we called it after about 2.5 miles into the mountains and we cut back to the truck, I made a big mistake by leading us through these 8-10 foot tall pines that were fresh growth, I would say, in the last 2 decades, but that was just in the middle of them, pixie sticks. I felt so bad. I literally turned to, he actually filmed me on his cell phone because I was like, we were both dying. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, and it was like, talk about second low of the hunt. So we get all the way back to the truck. We take a break. We air out all our clothes in the truck, put the heater on high. We're driving down to another canyon to kind of look up these ridges. And as we're driving, we cut on the road ram tracks again. And so we're like, we get on them again and we climb up a saddle and they're there and then they go down and up and down and up. And I'm telling you, these rams were bird dogging like whitetails. I think they were desperately looking for where did all the ewes go. And so, we lost that track again. Well, it came about 3:30 in the afternoon. We got back to the truck. We drove around the mountain to look at the back side of this big ridge that we were on all day long. Heath gets out of the truck, looks up. He says, ram. And I go, where? And he goes, look where we left off. He's right near that saddle where we left off. And I really think it was a different ram bird dogging the ram's tracks that we saw earlier that morning. He said, let's go back, climb up to the saddle and wait. We got an hour of light left. So that's what we did. We go back, we climb up. I told him no hiking anymore today. And here he is hiking me back up the saddle. Thank God. And so we get to this saddle and we're sitting there and we take our packs off and we're getting comfy and I've got my gun and we're watching this hillside because up there is where we kind of left off and the tracks are up there. They're also on the saddle that we're on, but we're thinking he's where we last saw him. He is about a mile, maybe more so away, that if he comes the way the tracks came, we're on. Well, the sun sets behind the mountain. I'm getting super cold. I told Heath, I'm going to go check the backside of this saddle to see if maybe he crossed low. So I'm about 40 yards away from my gun. But I needed all that film anyways, because everybody's like, how did you walk away from your gun? When you're filming, I got to have it on film anyway. And Heath is all set up this way. He's not going to follow me just to peek over there. It's one of those, I'll be right back. So I go over there, I'm peeking over and I hear, psst, psst. And he's going, and I'm like, and I look up and there's a ram and he's not looking down at us, but he's looking around and he's standing about 150 yards up on the skyline. It's actually a false skyline. It's got a little dip in a mountain behind him, but he's on the skyline. And I crunch down and I'm now in normal hunting mode. If that were an elk, a whitetail, or a muley, I'm not moving till he puts his head behind something, right? And he's just looking around and I'm like, hey, I said, should I just go for it? And he goes, go for it. I wish I would have had all this because it's actually kind of funny now. So I actually tried to walk like a ewe, put my hands down on the snow and walk back to my gun and get in my gun and I'm watching him and trying to focus. And he's kind of walking a little and he's curious as to what we are. I get on my gun and it's straight up. I get on my gun, I'm on my pack. I said, you ready? And he steps out and I had his whole frontal and everyone, that's a good shot if you're solid 140 yards. I'm shooting a 28 Nosler, 175 grain AccuBonds. And I just touched off and boom, and I knew it hit perfect. And he jumps a couple of steps. I see feet in the air and I just lost it. I mean, I just lost it. Heath was crying too. I don't care what he says. He was crying. And we just couldn't believe it. He came over and gave me a big hug. And I literally feel like it's definitely the pinnacle of my life as a hunter. I've got, if you include bird hunting, I've got, over 40 years of hunting, but big game hunting over 30 years, by far the pinnacle of my hunting life. And to share it with Heath in all those days, he was there with me every day, but 2 of them. It was just so special. I've never felt more emotion. And I get really emotional on a lot of my hunts. But just because it was a once in a lifetime moment, I just wanted to savor every single second. And I the way that it was so hard, which now looking back, I'm so glad, because some sheep hunts are pretty easy, and that good for them. I've watched these guys, they're Montana full curl or full circle, and they're hunting my unit in 2017. And they're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, let's go back to that other ram we saw. Must be nice. And I know it can be like that there some years. And it can also be like that in the adjacent unit where everyone's like, why don't you go over to 270? Well, that's not where my tag is, because on 270, they hang out on the highway there and everybody knows that herd, Right. But I'm so glad it was so tough. It made it so much more memorable. And there's a 1-minute clip that Heath put together for me last night that I put up on my Instagram. That's the last post I made, that I think he did such a good job. So we were losing light. I don't have any cell phone footage. I try to capture a lot of stuff with my cell phone for Instagram and Facebook. I didn't even have my cell phone out because we were just super busy. And so I said, put together me on the ram, so I can show people the ram. And he put together this 53-second piece that really shows the emotion that we were both feeling. So
that's a fantastic story. Lots of content there. Is this a 1 episode show or are you going to have 2 episodes? How is it going to work for for Carbon?
Yeah, it's actually going to be a 1 episode, but it's not going to air for a year. It's going to debut my season 5. So January 2023 on Carbon TV. The reason is 2022 is my all veteran season. So that's already in the can, locked up, 13 episodes. So this will debut the season after that. So I am going to put together a piece for the Wild Sheep Foundation. So you guys might get to see a tease of it there.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait to see. So you're going to be at Sheep Show. Are you guys, do you have a booth there? Does Carbon TV have a booth, or how's that?
No.
What does that look like?
No, I wish they did. They don't. I'm just going, I have a in with the auctioneer, so I'm his guest. But yeah, I've gone I actually went last year when it was all virtual. They did such a good job. But the year before, or 2 years before that, I've gone. So I've gone 3 times, and it's one of my favorite shows. It's so fun. So hope the crowds are going to be as big as they've ever been before. But I just get to go and enjoy. I feel like that one movie with Tom Cruise. I have no responsibilities here whatsoever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you talked about this being your pinnacle hunt, your sheep hunt, and just hats off to you because, just to kill a sheep is just a huge accomplishment, and to do it in the way you did it and the effort you put in. And it was not a slam dunk. It was not a gimme. And you did it on your own. It wasn't a guided hunt. You were out there just hustling and working your butt off. And so I can understand how hard that is. So you've reached the pinnacle of your hunting career. But that said, you've got a show, you've got a future. Is there a bucket list hunt for you? Is there something else that you want to do, or what's next for you?
Yeah, I definitely a grizzly hunt. I would love to do a grizzly hunt with John. We're probably going to try to go back with Joe, either on the Yukon Flats, or he guides in other parts of Alaska as well. Probably try that for 2023. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of places. There's so many, I should say it like this. There's so many places inside this country that I haven't explored, that I haven't hunted, that I'd love to go, that, and all over Canada. I've been really blessed to be in a lot of Canada and Alaska and do so many months, but there's so many places I haven't been yet, I'm looking forward to actually slowing down a little bit. I don't know when that's going to happen, but slowing down a little bit and, maybe not filming everything like I have been, the last 12 years, but, I just want to explore, there's so many this Montana, even alone, I feel like I still don't even know even half the state of Montana. There's just so many great places. And, now thanks to Onyx Maps, you can go anywhere, I have to say, I really do have. So there's a couple people I'd really love to give credit to on my sheep hunt. Number one is Robert Hanneman. He's a friend of mine. He and his wife, Amy, were my first friends I ever met when I moved out to Montana. And Robert works for the Huntin' Fool. And every year, Robert, because he is I don't even know what to call him. We joke. I hope he doesn't get mad at this, but we almost call him autistic. He is a genius autistic savant. Like how that man knows every unit in every state when I can barely remember my own birthday is so amazing to me. But he does. Robert knows every state, every unit. It's incredible. And so I put in for Montana, but I put in for other states as well. And he's always helped me with tags. And I remember last year, he's like, want to do the same? What are you thinking? And I'm like, I want easy odds. I've never been just a trophy hunter, and I want easy odds. And quite frankly, my sheep unit's one of the best units to get a tag, best sheep units in Montana. And, you've got the Missouri River Breaks, which are the coveted, genetically superior rams, but I didn't really care about that. I mean, I just thought I would never get to do it anyway. So give me the best odds. And, it worked. And, so I really need to thank Robert Hanneman and of course, Heath Helgert, H2O Productions, my camera guy and editor. He's amazing. But also, Onyx, I'd never been in this unit before. And so with Onyx, they have a new 3D unit. So you go onto your laptop, under your Onyx account, and I studied those mountains on the 3D layers. And I did 2 excursions on big hikes this summer to just look for sheep sign. I went way up into Nelson Lake, which was an amazing hike with friends we did one day, and I filmed it. And then I did another hike up this one big canyon that supposedly some big rams have come out of, but clearly discovered that's a unit for horses, that you would definitely need horses to get way, or mules to get way back in there. But it, Onyx really helped me target the areas that I did. And that was cool. It was super cool. And I felt like, especially like I said, the change in my life 2.5 years ago, I used to have a hunting partner, with everything. And now I really don't. And Heath's a big part of my hunting life and a good hunting partner for me, but we don't even get to do half the hunts we want to together because we're both so super busy. But I typically, and John's of course in Utah, so we hunt a bit when we can together, but it's not like having someone that you live with and hunt with every day. And so to do this one on my own and to be able to scout it on my own, and I asked people who know that unit really well, like certain tips and tricks. And basically everybody said the same thing: focus around the lake, focus around the lake. Well, that's what I did. And in October, that really paid out, but there were no big rams. And then come November, like no sheep. Like it was just crazy, weird year, whether that was weather related or, or maybe predator related. Like I said, I saw a monster wolf and then saw huge tracks up another drainage, cat tracks. But to be able to get it done, it was a DIY, but it took other people's help as well.
Yeah, as always, I guess. Yeah, for sure. But just to get it done is huge. And I can't say enough congrats to you and getting kicked out. So you can go drink beer at the Less Than One Club this year, but you're not going to win anything, at least not the Less Than One Club. So very cool. That's a great story. We appreciate you taking the time today, Jana. So this next season, 2022, it's an all veteran year. So tons of great hunts. When's the next show? When's the next one coming out that people want to tune in?
I'm actually behind right now in my schedule. I have my backcountry Utah hunt coming out within the next day or two. It was supposed to be out the 15th, but I told Heath you can divert that project for a minute because we got a sheep to kill. So he has not spent any time editing the last couple of weeks because I've had his butt in the mountains. But the Utah backcountry hunt episode comes out, and then I'm heading to Iowa, and I really hope I have luck with the muzzleloader, and that's probably going to be my December episode. So then we kick into we're going to re-edit these shows. Have all been seen before except one of them, which was a veteran hunt I did in Wyoming just last month with Blaine Scott. But they're going to be re-edited, retold, and everybody seems to just absolutely love their stories, which me included. And to be able to put them all in one season where everybody can go watch them all, I'm just so excited about. And, some incredible Eric Galvin, he's a triple amputee, no legs, no right arm, took him at RNK in Wyoming. He gets a great bull. Jonathan Blank, I took last year. He is at the hip amputated, and he literally Bam, the founder of Wishes, hauled him on his back half the time. And then he crawled up that mountain and shoots a great 6-point bull. They're just, every one of my veterans hunts has ended with just an amazing notch tag, tears all around. And it's such a beautiful thing to see these men and women, conquer the mountains again and feel like, okay, I can do this. But I just think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to share their stories and hopefully spark more patriotism in this country.
That's fantastic. Well, and the work you do in the veteran community and the conservation community, Jana, is just unbelievable. And then the stories you tell through your platform are fantastic as well. We're obviously big fans and just love the work you do, and just was so excited to see you with the sheep hunt. And I can't wait to see the episode in 23. It's that's a darn long time to wait. I'll tell you that. That's going to be tough. So
it's like a taxidermy weight. You drop it off, you're not going to see it for a year. So
the good thing is it's not going to cost us $5,000, right? So.
But I'm really excited. So like Steve said, he's going to get a lot of slack for this, but he may have my piece done for the Western Hunt Expo in February because he has a booth there and he wants it on display, and how cool to be able to have the dead head with my ram. And it won't be done by Sheep Show, but maybe next year it would be at Sheep Show. So hopefully.
Very cool. Well, we'll look for it for sure, and I can't wait to watch for this little video that is going to be shown at Sheep Show as well. That's exciting. If that comes together, that'll be really cool to watch that. Get a teaser for the big show next year. So
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and being able to share some stories, and I look forward to seeing you guys in January.
Yeah, you too, Jana. Thank you so much, and we'll track you down at Sheep Show, and we'll buy you a beer at the Less Than One Club. So
sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks again.